All right, so starting with the female figure that's walking, we always want to start with our guidelines. So you can use the template that I have just uploaded into Classroom in Canvas resources for you. Starting with head 1, from line 1 to L2, line 2, this is all head space 1. So the head should go from the top to the bottom of the chin. So that's why I drew the head. The angle of the shoulders go opposite, so they angle towards each other. So in 1/3 of the space of head 2 is our shoulder. So I added a line, and our shoulder is 2 heads wide. So I made my line go across that way for you. Going down to the waist, which is on line 4, my shoulder or my waist is 1 head wide, and I'm going to alter the angle that it is so it's congruent to this angle. So I'm going to go the opposite line or opposite way. I'm going to go from the center from my sternum and go down to my waist and then pop the hip. So I'm going to curve that line out a little bit so my spine's rotating. Then this line is going to go from the center over here. So I'm going to make my line an angle as well. Half from here has to be 1 head, and this is the other head as well. So I'm going to make sure that that's 2 heads as long as well. Then I'm going to connect these shapes. So I am going to connect the corner to the edge here and do the same thing, corner to edge, edge to hip, edge to hip. 1/3 or about 1/4 of the space. So if I think about half and about a quarter, I'm going to make a mark, half and a quarter, and I'm going to make another mark. That quarter mark is where my leg is going to arch up and kind of create like the brief or the under leg area. My ankle is on L9 and it's going to be back over here on center. So I'm going to make my ankle centered. My foot is a trapezoid. So I'm going to make a trapezoid shape centered on my center balance line. Half of this space from here to here, I'm going to make a mark. That's going to be my bone. That's going to connect from the middle of this line all the way here. So I'm going to draw a line down. My elbow is going to think about moving on a pendulum from 4. So if I think about moving it on this pendulum kind of swing, it's not going to go out too far. I'm going to maybe move it right out here, and I'm going to have it slightly above this arm. So I'm going to, or this line, line 4. So I'm going to maybe a little bit higher. Same on this one. It's in motion, but it's going to be lower or appear to be lower than my hip because my hip is raised. So I'm going to make the same mark right over here. So they're still right above my L4, which is going to be in line with my waist when it's all said and done. Okay, then I'm going to make a mark in L3 in half this space. So I'm going to make a mark here for half of this line to here. Same from here to L3, make a mark for half. That line is going to connect down to the center of my elbow line. So I'm going to connect down, connect down. My wrist is in line with my hip, my waist, so slightly lower than L5. And I'm just going to connect again, center to center. In this case, my wrist is almost as in the same placement as my shoulder. I am not going to see it over here on this side, so I'm just going to let that disappear behind. My knees are on L7 or the bottom of head 6. The knees are going to follow the same angle as my hips. So I'm going to make my mark and then make my mark down here as well. My knee is going to go in this angle this way, since my leg is moving in that direction. My leg is going to come out, and from this corner down to my leg, I'm going to make a straight line just to connect that point. Same with this one. I'm going to connect down and right to that area. In half of head 7, I'm going to make a little arch. And it's not any wider than about half the head. So I think about half the head. It's going to be close to about half that head, or the same width as my hip up here. Make a line from the knee down and out, almost like a little trapezoid. And then this is going to connect back to my ankle, and again back to the ankle. My hip over here, from the center of this line, if you almost imagine it dropping straight down, my knee is going to be down here. Okay, so my knee is slightly lower now, and my hip is going to come in and out towards that line. I still have a wider part, so it's going to go out where that angle is here, and then it's going to come back in, and it's going to give the illusion that my leg is lifted up and it's stepping behind. This line is just going to drop straight down where it was here. Okay. My neck is 2 lines straight. My shoulder is going to connect from here to here, so it's a really small, subtle, almost like a triangular wedge. My arm is going to go from the corner down. Same thing, corner down. In L3 is our chest or apex. So the apex is at the line of L3. The bottom of head 2 is our apex. So if I use this line below and a line above, I'm going to create these little round spaces for circles. I'm going to make a circle in this space and a circle roughly the same size in that space. My circle is not all the way to the edge. There is a little bit of space wrapped around. From line 3, I'm going to use that to make a mark down to my shoulder. Okay, so line 3 has that mark going down. Also, line 3 down. Okay, so that's how I get my arm for where that line is going to make that meet. Same here, just connecting. My hand is going to have this little trapezoid feel to it by making a small shape like this, and then just drawing a little line out for fingers. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and be able to clean up and shape my design and my drawing. So that's the basic placement of our figure. Okay, body placement. The head is all of line 1, head 1. Line 3, or the bottom of the head 2, is the fullest part of the breast tissue. So I have 2 circles that go slightly above and below, 1/4 of that space. The waist is on the bottom of head 3 or line 4, and it's tilted. My spine came off that curve, so my hips are off to the side, and now they are lifted up, and I have that same line going this direction. My knees follow that same line and that angle at 7, and my knee is going to go slanted on an oval so that it is parallel to my bone structure. My ankle is on line 9 at the bottom of head 8. Okay, I am now going to show you how to clean this up and frame it into a usable croquis. All right, so I have created my drawing template underneath. I have a new piece of paper and I'm using a light box, but you can use a window. And what we're going to do is shape and fine tune our figure. So I'm going to start by starting with the neck, where I'm going to go down. I'm going to curve it and I'm going to round around that corner. When I go to my arm, I'm going to curve slightly and have it come back down and around. And I'm going to have a slight bend and curve inwards. Okay, if I make a mistake, I can just edit. I'm going to slightly curve it in to round out my hand down here. Same on the inside. I'm just going to lightly curve. I'm going to follow the arch or the roundness of my elbow, and I'm going to kind of go in just a little, and it's going to almost be slight. It's straight, but with a slight little bend. My wrist is going to curve a little, and I'm going to be able to draw my hand. To do so, I'm going to make a little J or a little curve over here, and it's going to slightly curve down into the fingers here, and I kind of make a hook together. I can add some fingers just by making another little line. My arm is going to have this little line when we do our tissue for the breast tissue. We're going to start here. We're going to go right above L3, or you can even start at L3 if you want. You're going to go around, up, and over. Okay, so when you go up and over, then you can go out from there. So it's just going down, around, up, and over. My arm, I'm going to curve this from here, and I'm going to make my torso round just a little bit. Same here, I'm going to round it just a little. My hip is going to curve just a little bit to give it that form. I'm going to round this just a little bit as well. And when I go to do this, this is almost going to be straight, and then it has like a little bit of a line that needs to curve back out for the muscle. And I'm going to round down by the knee and fade that back out. I'm going to follow the little curve here. This is going to be a straight line. When I get down to my knee, it's going to curve in, go back out, and then curve out and back around my ankle and down to my shoe. Around the ankle, up, kind of around the corner, and then my hip is going to rotate, and this part's going to curve out just a little and then back in. I'm going to make a little like parenthesis for my knee, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to go down, curve it around, round around the shoulder, kind of subtle curve, and back down. My clavicle is at half of head 2, so I'm going to make a mark at half head 2. It's going to go up and over, up and over. I'm going to highlight the center and this curve from the center of this line on my waist to the center of underneath the breast tissue. I'm going to connect lines almost like a corset, so I have some measurements as to where my body would be the center of each of these objects and these parts. I'm going to outline the head. Center of my head, I'm going to make a line. Above the line and slightly down to the edge of the curve is where the ears are going to be.